Welcome to the Parenting Powerhouse podcast, where we will explore topics that will inspire you and motivate you and empower you to be the mom that you want to be. So come on a journey with me as we dive into the challenges and triumphs of raising a neurodivergent child, because I want to provide you with the tools and mindset to create peace for you and your family. I will provide you with expert guidance and support in a safe space with other moms who are here to help you overcome any obstacle and build confidence in yourself. So, grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Hey there. Welcome to Parenting Powerhouse Podcast, your go-to guide for navigating the beautiful chaos of raising unique people we call neurodivergent. Today's episode is all about empowering your incredible adults with ADHD or Asperger's towards independence, tackling those tough challenges like lying and owning their circumstances head on. So let's dive right in. My name is Tara Travell, and I'm a social learning coach of over 20 years, an autism specialist, and I am raising a teen with ASD1 and actually have ADHD myself. So between the professional and personal experience I share in these episodes, I'm bound to cover every topic at some point, right? So don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss an episode. Today's episode, I'm going to try to cover some things about empowering your incredible kids with ADHD or Asperger's towards independence. So let's tackle the tricky stuff first, lying and ownership. So it's so tough when our amazing young adults struggle to accept responsibility, right? They do so many things on their own, and we know how capable they are. And it's just crazy how some of the seemingly simple things they just don't get, like maybe hygiene, maybe eating a meal, maybe forgetting to eat a meal, organizing their stuff, maybe getting a job, keeping a job, or wanting to hang out with people, and just so many more things, right? So first, what does this look like? Well, poor hygiene is a biggie. It is so hard to wrap our mind around a 20 or 24-year-old that doesn't find it necessary to brush their teeth or shower every day. Do you agree? This has been so hard because brushing their teeth and taking a shower just seems so, normal to us, like it's something we should want to do, right? But why don't they find it necessary? Well, I'll let you know what's worked for me, and this might not work for everybody, but it's at least an approach. And if you haven't taken this approach, then it might be something to try. So what I do is I just try to find facts about whatever it is that I'm trying to convince my teen to do or to change or adjust. And for this, for the hygiene, like taking a shower, brushing teeth, because sometimes he wouldn't brush his teeth for like days. If I just kind of like said, go ahead, brush your teeth, and I didn't check, it would sometimes be days. Or a shower. He would run the shower water, get in the bathroom, run the shower water, but I never checked the towel. Well, the towel was never wet. So I don't know, was it days or maybe a week between showers sometimes? So I was tired of just hounding and nagging, and I just got so tired and frustrated. So what I did was I just figured, okay, what are some facts about the skin in the mouth that happens when we don't do these things? And I found out how, I don't know, it's kind of disgusting, of course, but it's really interesting how quickly environmental junk like goes into our gums and what it does, and even environmental junk that's on our skin and how it soaks in and what it does. Well, I shared this with him, and it really helped him like figure things out on his own, because then he could take this information and hear my perspective and think about that. But then he was wise enough and smart enough, even though he didn't intuitively figure this out on his own, he started to make better decisions. I thought they were better decisions. And it just felt like they were his decisions. So he ended up doing things more without me saying anything. Woohoo! That was great, right? And I think the real game changer here is just kind of fostering that open, maybe judgment free space to just have some conversations, to give my perspective and the things that I'm thinking in my head, and then let him take this information, make sense out of it, and use it to make his own decisions. Now, I have to remember his mind processes information a lot slower, and maybe it's just going to take him a few days to process a little bit of information and make the choice. So instead of nagging and just making myself crazy, it's easier just to talk about it with no expectations and just share, how I think about it. And an example could be as simple as me saying, what I'm asking you to do this because for me, I take a shower so that other people don't look at me like I'm dirty or smell or feel real weird around me because they see my greasy hair and think it's dirty, or I might have something contagious. And I brush my teeth because all the possibilities of what is going on in my mouth if I wait too long, and I really don't want anybody else smelling what's going on in my mouth and what I've eaten maybe hours, before. That's kind of how I talk to him about things now. So from my professional experience now, I have a few examples while coaching young adults and their parents. The first example I'm going to share with you is Sarah and her son Alex, who has Asperger's. And Alex struggled with taking responsibility and often lied when confronted pretty much about anything. He would normally just play his video games and say he did such and such, whatever she was asking him to do. Okay, so how did that make her feel? Well, she felt completely frustrated. She got angry. She didn't know what to do. He was just lying about these things, these simple, stupid things, these reasonable requests. And she was going nuts because she didn't know why he didn't want to do these things. He would lie about brushing his teeth, completing any task, even like the smallest thing, taking out the trash or something like that. So many daily or small tasks. So first, let's think about how we perceive, everything. Let's think about how we are perceiving him, perceiving us, and we get frustrated and pissed off, and then help make the interaction tense, right? So once feelings are heightened, we're not going to get anywhere. The only thing to do is take a different approach. So think, all right, why is Alex lying? Well, if we ask ourselves that and we make an assumption, it might be because he is trying to get out of something, right? That would be what we're assuming. But do you think that emotional, intense interaction with us is what he really wants? Well, most of the time, no, he doesn't want that. The reasons could be from really poor executive skills, and now he has built a strategy to avoid feeling shame. This is another time that we can just kind of shift to open, honest talks without judgment. Things will change because once Alex started feeling safe to express himself, they started addressing the root issues together. And this has nothing to do with the good and loving relationship Sarah had with Alex. Really, it's about that feeling that they are not alone. We're trying to reduce the expectations when we're talking to them, just so they feel like they can be heard and they are not broken. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just trying to learn a new way of thinking about things. So let's move on to the next concept or challenge: independence, just independence in general. And we all want our kids to spread their wings, right? But here's the scoop: it might not happen like we expect. It's really about embracing their journey and supporting them in their own time and way. Our neurodivergent adults can be between maybe 3 to 6 years behind socially and emotionally. So, what is happening here? Well, we have a preconcerned idea of what a person's timeline might be or should be. Here's an exercise for you. Get a piece of paper and a pencil. I'll wait for a second. Okay. Draw a long line, and I want you to not have anything on your mind about your child. I want you to think about typical ages and milestones that the general public knows and expects of a person growing up. Nothing to do with your kid at this point, just what are general, typical ages and milestones. And I want you to mark these ages and milestones along the timeline that you're creating. You could always start with when a child will start walking, maybe potty training, maybe being invited to a first birthday party, uh, getting their license, have a career, move out, getting married, all that sort of stuff. Now, when you're finished with that timeline, you're going to go back and cross out all the ages. All the ages. Either erase them, cross them out so that you can't see them at all. And then I want you to go back again and have your child in mind and put an X over the milestones that have been met. That's it. Just an X over the time on the timeline, the milestones that have been met. Guess what? You did it. You have taken the first step to erase all expectations and look at your child from where they are today. Take a look at your timeline because you have all the things a person needs to accomplish at some point in their life. It doesn't matter the age, as long as they're accomplishing these things at some point, you are a successful parent and they are a successful person. This is a great start. Congratulations. Not that easy, but this is a start. Okay, so I have another example of how we deal with keeping our kids on schedules, because I know that's been a real biggie for a lot of people, how to deal with organization, just everyday tasks, just schedules in general. So Jim and his mom Maria, well, Jim is ADHD, has ADHD, and rigid schedules just really didn't work for him at all. His mom Maria tried everything: apps on the phone, written calendars on the fridge, whiteboards, anything to keep Jim scheduled. And of course, it was up there for him. He would be able to check it if he asked or if she asked, but he didn't check it on his own. He didn't remember or he didn't add anything. It was just kind of getting super frustrating because Maria felt like she was doing everything for him. So what we did was we just threw out all of our suggestions, just started fresh, started with a blank slate, and everything that worked for us, we just kind of put aside, like, doesn't matter. This is Jim. He's thinking on, he's got to find his own thing. He was going to have to figure out what worked for him, and we're just going to support him. So we had to actually go back to the gaps in his processing because he would forget to check a phone. He would forget to set an alarm. He would forget to just do any of those things to even find out what was coming up in the schedule. So how are we going to make this easier for his brain? That's what we had to think. Well, we're only going to work on one thing at a time, and that's what we did. Just what was the most important thing for Jim to work on that day, and it might be something like getting ready for his doctor's appointment. So I had Jim put an alarm for 1 hour before his doctor's appointment on his phone, then another alarm for 40 minutes before his doctor's appointment, because that's the time he had to start getting ready, getting his brain, ready, getting whatever ready he needed to do. Then he had another alarm 20 minutes before the doctor's appointment because that was the time he had to leave his house to get there. You see, I prompted him with many, many steps because the more he does this, it may be hard at first for his mom or me or even him, but it takes many, many repetitions for something to become a habit. That's the hard part. Once something becomes a habit, though, it's easy. So we decided to create everything that needed to be scheduled as a learning, just a new habit. And we only did one thing at a time. And once that became a habit, then we would move on to something else. So one of his habits may have taken 20 times to create, but some other habits took maybe 120 times. And I'm not even joking. It just takes the patience and understanding that the brain processes things differently, and we just need to create habits. One thing we really have to think about, and it's really important, is that we always need to celebrate progress. And no matter how small, tiny, tiny, tiny things we should mention, like specifically, like instead of saying, good job, that's great, whatever, say, you know, that's great that you actually check your phone every morning. It is great that you remember to put an alarm for that doctor's appointment, just kind of specifically. And it will make him feel good or her feel good because then, the parent isn't having to nag and remind constantly. That must make somebody feel like they can't do it, right? Because we know they can't. But to constantly hear that nagging and, it probably makes them feel a little worse. So sometimes these little reminders and conversations like really help and make them feel so much better about themselves. So, okay, last one. Do you ever struggle or are you struggling with trying to help your young adult figure out what the heck they're going to do with their lives? Like, what are they good at? What do they want to go to college for? Or what kind of job do they want to get? What kind of job might be best, right? This is one of the most difficult things because a lot of times through high school, if you remember the IEP meetings, there are always assessments and they're trying to figure out what your son or daughter is good at. And our kids don't even know what they're good at. It's so frustrating because, they're always asked. And, what are you good at? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do when you get older? What do you want to go to college for? And all this is so foreign to them because it takes a lot of executive functioning skills to be able to put this information together and draw from what might possibly be out there, like outside of their own experience, outside of their world. So I'm going to share a story to give you a brief idea of maybe a direction to take with this challenge. Challenge might be an understatement, so you can fill in the blank. So Linda and her daughter Callie. Callie has ADHD and ASD. And Callie, we took a look at, Callie's life, like what does she like to do? What is she interested in? And when she was young, she loved to play with Legos. And she was really, really good, like at her own creations, using colors in very imaginative ways. She never followed really any kind of pattern or book. She also then, when she was a teenager, took a look at some of the interesting things she'd do. And she started to organize her clothes in her closet by colors. And then after putting colors together, she started to organize them by the shades of the colors. So her closet was just beautiful. Probably one of the most beautiful closets you've ever seen. I saw pictures only, I didn't see it in person. And as she got a little older, she started helping out more with the animals. She always loved animals. She always loved her pets, but she started really taking care of them and helping with them, which was nice. That was a responsible thing to do, and it was something that she was good at, and she loved it. So when Callie got to high school, she really wanted to find a job. People around her had jobs. She wanted some money of her own, and she wanted a part-time job. So, of course, it's a lot harder for people with ADHD and ASD, as we know. But one of the reasons may be because these guys really need a job that they feel confident in with their own skills and interests. There's nothing wrong with that. It's usually what we do in life, right? We usually go for things that we enjoy. We do activities that we like or we're good at. And that makes us feel good about ourselves and happy and successful. So why not? We took Callie's interests and her strengths and the things that she liked, and we found a part-time job for her as an assistant to a local photographer who did family and pet portraits. Like, perfect, right? She had the eyes to help set up a scenario. She helped with, color coordinating and everything else. It was wonderful. And that's kind of what you want to look at. What are some of the strengths, interests over long periods of time? Because our kids just aren't figuring that out themselves. They need a little help. There's nothing wrong with giving a little help. And I just want you to remember that. And we need, the IEP teams, if your kid's still in school, we need them to realize that too. So really, I wanted to share these few brief examples just to give you an idea of a direction you can take, maybe a different way of thinking about things, and to know that there is hope. Your young adult will be successful by taking some of these steps. But it really is a paradigm shift in the way we think as moms and helping our kids think about themselves. So I want to thank you for joining Parenting Powerhouse today. Remember, parenting these incredible adults needs patience, understanding, and a flexible mindset. I want you to embrace their journey as well as your own. Keep conversations open and celebrate every victory, no matter how small. And don't forget to follow so that you don't miss an episode. And until next time, keep rocking this amazing parenting gig.